they're interdimensional? Do you think they're spirits?
They're not spirits.
No?
No. Anything that's related to the planet, we will just know immediately.
Not a single story about his old age or death or grave or parentage. It is clearly said that he has no parents. No father is understood, no mother, not understood by anybody, isn't it? Because he didn't belong here. Shiva was made in such a way that he could not impregnate or have his child, and people had the desire to see that someone like this becomes alive. He dropped his semen into the sacrificial fire, into your homa, and from that it was taken, and 6 apsaras means women who are not human, who come from elsewhere, took this and they couldn't hold it, and 3-month-old babies they delivered. And these 3-month-old fetuses were kept in lotus leaves and nurtured, and then Parvati merged all the 6 and made them into one. They know our ways, or they taught us these ways, or they made us this way. We don't know how much role they have played in our making.
His problem was he could enter the solar system only at certain times.
They want me minus my body. It would be nice one day to step in and see what the hell.
Over 15,000 years ago, in the upper regions of Himalayas, a yogi appeared. Nobody knew where he came from, who he was. His antecedents were unknown, because people did not know his name. They referred to him as… He just came and sat down. People gathered, because he looked like an extraordinary being. Hours rolled into days, days into weeks into months. Slowly people left, but here this man just sat there for months on end, more and more. If one has to see, one has to go beyond physical nature. If one is beyond physical nature, must be in some other dimension. Only 7 people realized this, and they hung on. These 7 people are today celebrated as the Saptarishi of the great 7 sages of India. These 7 people pursued him, and when he decided to share his knowledge with them, they say it took many millennia. So, when he shared his knowledge, and they all rose to their full enlightenment, he told them, there is no point sitting here. Each one of you should go in this direction and share this knowledge with the world. This is very important to understand that it is in the last 12 to 15,000 years that the longing to know got organized and found an organized expression through various systems of yoga. It's fantastic to see that this goes back right up to the time of the Adiyogi. If we want to look for physical proof, still there's a little bit of physical proof left around the world suggesting these things. I'm not some kind of an archaeologist or an expert in these matters, but you will see some of the things that we will look at today will intrigue anyone and set us thinking. We cannot call this 100% proof, but it suggests a few things. What is this all about? Why this has to be connected to Saptarishis? Because it's a particular way of looking at life. When I say particular way of looking at life, it is not about someone's opinion.
but it is about an internal reflection of the cosmos, an internal understanding of the nature of creation, and a very internalized understanding of human being and the making of a human being and every other creature on this planet. When I say internal, I am talking about in contrast with modern science, which observes everything from outside and gone quite deep into its observation today as to how the physical creation has happened. It is in no way in contradiction with the inner way of looking, it is just that it starts at a different end. It's like if you start looking at a tree from the top, your understanding of the tree will be one way. If you start looking at a tree from its roots, your understanding of the tree will be completely different. Only when a meeting point happens somewhere, they look similar. Today we are coming to a place in the history of modern science and in the development of modern science where mysticism and modern science are beginning to look similar. So, this exploration today will be important in that sense, and as I said, this is not an archaeology lesson for you, but it's just to show you that there have been many suggestions to show that the origin of this is Adiyogi, and from him how it could have reached various places. Within myself, I know it did, but you don't have to go by my experience of life, because somebody else's experience can never be yours. But here is a little bit of physical proof going around. This whole process of Adiyogi and transmission of this way of knowing started in the region that today we refer to as Manasarovar and Kailash. The very first time we went there, and I noticed what was happening, and the phenomena of Kailash so close by. These two things cannot be unconnected, that was clear to me. There is no ways two such phenomenal events to be unconnected with each other and so close. But we didn't really make the connection as to what. As we have said a few times, there's a phenomenal activity going on in the lake. So if you look at this whole setup, the geological setup around it, you see what is called as a conglomerate of mass, which is like concrete, which has all pebbles molded into some molten earth. So something happened there which created temperatures between 800 to 1100 degrees centigrade, which melted the soil, but which did not melt the rocks. If a volcano happens, rocks melt because the temperatures go up to 3000 degrees centigrade. If a meteorite lands, temperatures hit 4000 to 6000 degrees centigrade, so everything melts. These are the two phenomena we know which generally create that kind of temperature. Or if the tectonic plates move, which has definitely happened in the area, if they happen, then also temperatures could raise because of the friction and things could melt. I really don't have enough scientific information as to what is the kind of temperatures that happen. Some Russian scientist says that this kind of tectonic clash could create that kind of 800 to 1000 degrees centigrade and soil could melt and all this stuff. It's possible. That looks like the most sensible scientific explanation that one can give. So soil melted and the rock did not melt. That's why you see all those mountains like concrete standing up with all pebbles sticking all over the place. All the mountains around when you are walking are like concrete mountains. You can see pebbles and molten soil. But Kailash alone is standing like a steel, like black steel, it's standing there. And last time we sent people right up to the core to get some rocks from the mountain itself. And we have them with us. We see that it's energy-wise, it's reverberating in a big way, but we do not know the geological composition of this. Is it a meteorite or is it a certain rising that happened from the earth itself? We do not know that exactly. Geologically, they say it's a certain rising. Why this rising happened, all this, I have not found any logical explanations to this. Why a peak would rise like that, I really do not know. If it's because of tectonic movement, it should have been of one kind, like you find the Indian Himalayas. It's of one kind, it has peaks, but it's of one kind. Here it seems to be different. There may be a geological explanation, I do not know. But you can see geologically it's of a different structure altogether. Either you can try to read miraculous happenings into this, or if there isn't anything like that, it's just a natural earth formation happening that's happened and somehow this peak had more integrity. Obviously it has because of the kind of rock that it is. So Shiva and other yogis chose this place because this was a good place. That could be the most sensible explanation. Or there could be some other crazy happening because there's a crazy lake next door. So there could be some possible craziness out there in its making. Or it could be just a natural geological happening. Both are possible. We need a scientific assessment of this, which we haven't found yet. Story-wise, Shiva is always sitting at the peak of Kailash with Parvati sitting on his lap, on his left lap. This is all you need to understand. This is a story which is trying to narrate a certain dimension of life. This is not a physical thing that there's a man sitting there and a woman sitting on his lap. That's not the point. How life is made, that's how the story is. The science of life expressed in a story form, a dialectical expression of life. So, he's sitting on this peak constantly, unless he goes to his original Kailash. Sometimes he goes away, only then he's missing, otherwise he's always sitting there. So Kailash is his original abode. This is his visiting Kailash. It has many aspects to it. We've been promising you that we will find out the nature of this material, what this is, and I sent a few pieces with one of the Detroit meditators. They were supposed to find out and I don't know, I think they must be keeping the stones in their house and worshipping it or something. They got the nice stones and they must be keeping it in their shrine. I don't know what happened, but I have not gotten any reports. Somebody else said there's another place in Arizona and they're going to send it there, and they took a few more pieces from me and I don't know where they went. So, apart from this, the significance of the mountain for us is not its nature, how it happened, however it has happened. Is it a meteorite? Did it land slowly for some reason and all this kind of stuff? Maybe it's just a natural happening, but for us the significance is right now what it has become a station for. It's become a station of knowledge and grace. That's all that matters to us. Kailash has always been considered as the abode of many great beings, is because many great beings chose to
deposit their work, preserve their work in Kailash. Starting from Shiva himself, and the first of the Tirthankars, and two of greatest Buddhist teachers. All these people chose Kailash Parvat as a place to preserve their work. When I say preserving work, for most mystics on this planet, till now, in all these thousands of years, if they get to share 1 or 2% of their work with people around them, they are very fortunate. Most of them don't even get to do that. So they always chose to deposit in some space which is not too frequented by human beings. At the same time, it's accessible for those who wish to go. So Kailash is such a place. It is not totally inaccessible, but it's hard enough to discourage a lot of people. There are many places like that. But in terms of the volume and the variety that's been deposited in Kailash, it is the place. So this is why it is known as the abode of Shiva, not because if you dig in the rock somewhere you will find him, because everything that he knew has been deposited there in a certain energy form. So, all that is valuable for us in his life, from his life, is here. So in that sense, he's alive here. He's still living here, because in an energy form he's alive. Many beings are alive there.
From here on, whatever I speak is just conjecture and legend. We're not 100% sure of anything that I say from now on. We're just looking at it. One thing is clear, here, this we are 100% sure, is there's a tremendous amount of activity in the lake. And this activity is… the nature of the activity is such that it has nothing to do with anything that we know as life on this planet. It's something totally different. It's life, but not the way we know it. Not the kind of life that we know as life here. Definitely life, no question about that. But not the way we know life. Here, this part of the creation of which we are a part, life happens in a certain way. What we call as life energies are in a certain way. Whether it's an ant or an elephant, or a monkey or a man, the essential nature of the way life happens here is same. How it manifests itself in any number of forms, but the essential nature is same. But this is not that kind of life, it's totally different kind of life. I wouldn't call Manasarovar a spiritual place because spirituality is out of human being. These beings, if you can call them that, I don't know what we can call them, whether we can call them beings or things or creatures or what. We have no words for things or happenings which don't belong to our realm of experience. They don't belong to anything that we know as life. So for now, due to lack of words, we'll call them beings. Their nature is nothing to do with who we are and what we are, on this level at least. So this is not really a spiritual place, but somehow life from somewhere has chosen this almost like an airport. They're just landing, taking off, landing, taking off at a tremendous pace. This is just crazy. This doesn't stand to any reason. why for millions of years one particular spot on the planet has been used by life which doesn't belong here. Why? And why the same place? And why for so long? Normally, here we could classify life, on one level we could classify life as conscious part of life and unconscious part of life. But with these life forms, we don't know where to put them, because these seem to be totally unconscious, but they are conscious. They seem to be in bunches, but they're individual. They're individuals which bunched up together, maybe just for this journey, or maybe that's how they exist. We don't know for sure. But they have an individuality. At the same time, they are in bunches, which makes them all like one piece. These things don't happen here. Here, if you create an individual life form, it becomes individual. If you fuse something, it'll never remain as two, it'll become as one. Here we cannot fuse something and keep it individual. In this life, it doesn't happen like that. It is like you ate a banana, the banana becomes a part of you, the banana doesn't exist anymore, only you are. But now you ate a banana, it's become a part of you, but still it's a banana. That doesn't make sense, the way we know life. But that's how it is with what we see in Manasarovar. It doesn't stand to our logic and our understanding and our perception of life. So, definitely they don't belong to the earth, there's no question about that. And such a phenomenal amount of activity of in and out of the lake. For what purpose? We are not 100% sure. We're beginning to have some inkling. We need to spend more time on this, at least we have some fundamentals towards it now. And the Kailash, when we say Kailash, going by the legend, going by the mythological legends in this country, Kailash is… we are not… when we say Kailash, we are not talking about a mountain. We are talking about a space which is beyond, somewhere. Generally we say, if somebody died, we say he went to Kailash. That means he went to Shiva's abode somewhere, wherever that is. The same name was given to the mountain because that is also referred to as Shiva's abode. So Shiva's abode on this planet is referred to be as Kailash. We inferred because his knowing is stored there. That is why we refer to it that way. But there seems to be much more to it. For those of you who saw it, you clearly saw that the nature of that mountain and the surrounding mountains is very, very different. Clearly, distinctly, even for a layperson, it is distinctly visible to see. This is almost steel-like. It's like almost metallic kind of stone. Rest of it is all brown, like mortar. When I say mortar, it is like molten soil. Soil has melted, but the rock has not melted. So you see huge brown mountains with all pebbles and rocks sticking in it. It looks like concrete, like man-made concrete, because the soil has melted and the rock has not melted. If the soil has melted and rock has not melted, for some reason, for whatever reason, the temperatures must have hit somewhere between 800 to 1100 degrees centigrade. then the soil melts and the rock won't melt. If temperature crosses 12 to 1400 degrees, the rock will also melt. So something happened there which took the temperatures between 800 to 1100. If a volcano happened, the temperatures will be way beyond. The rock melts and flows. That's what you call as lava or whatever. It's molten rock. If a meteorite landed, the temperatures usually touch 3000 to 4000 degrees centigrade, everything melts and there should be a huge crater. Such a thing didn't happen. So the theory could be that something landed but managed to land gently and created only 800 to 1000 degrees, where the soil melted but the rock did not melt. Or somebody managed to land a huge mountain of a meteorite gently. If somebody managed to land a meteorite gently, that's something else. Coming to Shiva himself, one thing about Shiva is, whatever, there are 1,000 stories describing his life, but there is not a single story about his childhood or about his old age. He had no parents and no grave. There's a beautiful story which says, when Shiva was to marry Parvati, what's her father's name? I'm sorry. Himavat. Yes. Himavat was a king, did not approve of this alliance because Shiva had hideous friends around him. Always Shiva's friends were described as demons, as goblins, as demented and deformed beings. So somebody will look demented and deformed to you if they don't look like you.
See, in certain spaces, there are very strong presence, which is when you feel the texture of that life, you know it is not like anything that we know here. Obviously, it doesn't belong here. It has a different source than the life that we are. When I say the life that we are, see, this is the yogic sciences. This will confuse people if we go that far, because people are thinking yoga is for backache, yoga is for health, yoga is for slimming down.
We've already
Like this.
established that's not
Yeah.
the case.
So, yoga means you know the texture of life.
Unity.
That is one thing. I'm talking about the texture of this life. If you know the texture of this life…
Okay.
See, people ask me, how do you know all this? I don't know anything. There's only one thing I know. I know the nature of this piece of life from its origin to its ultimate. Because every other life is in some way built the same way, people think I know every other life. No, I know only this life. But fortunately, every other life from a single microbe to a human being to every other creature in some way is a reflection of this life. Because it's all connected. Even the evolutionary sciences are saying the same thing, even the religions are saying the same thing, all right? So, in that sense, I know the texture of this life and that life and every other life here. But there are some lives which don't have the texture, which are totally different.
And how are you experiencing these lives?
You want me to say something ridiculous now?
No. I don't think it's ridiculous at all.
No. If I say something which is illogical, it'll seem ridiculous,
I
right?
don't think it's illogical.
It will be illogical because it will not fit into the framework of human logic.
Well, the framework of human logic is based on our own experience and interpretation of the life that we lived. It doesn't mean that other people haven't experienced or interpreted something that is beyond our comprehension because we haven't experienced it personally. I think
See,
that's logical.
we have done experiments where we attracted certain life which doesn't have any texture of earthly life.
And how do you conduct these experiments?
I used certain people to invite them into their bodies, and what happened there is totally unbelievable for people because I'll tell you a simple thing. I invited a certain life into one person's body. I kept… the weather was already like nearly zero, kind of sub-zero kind of atmosphere, it was in Tibet. And I kept a bowl of water about 3 inches above the head. And when this life entered and I tried to hold it within that body, you won't believe, this bowl which is 3 inches, the person is lying down on the ground, on wet soil, they just put a bed sheet and this person is lying down. This bowl is about 3 inches above the head on the ground. The water started boiling. There are over 200 people watching the water boiling, all right? Because it created so much heat, then I let it go because it could burn up the person, fuse out that person in some ways. Because the moment it felt trapped, it created such heat. The water is actually boiling 3 inches away from the…
Did you film this?
Huh? From a distance they filmed it, bad filming, they were not really looking for it, but it is there.
And how many times has this happened?
We did this about 2 times we did it properly, another time we did a mild one. After that, I thought I will go spend time there, which has never happened. And above all, it doesn't serve any purpose like that,
It doesn't serve a purpose to
It doesn't…
experiment?
it is more to know, not… it doesn't serve a purpose as to how you can use, because it could be… I have to admit, I was stepping into an area where I don't know a damn thing, okay?
Right.
So you could make a mistake and take somebody's life or your own life or something like that.
So whatever these life forms are that you're experiencing, they're only… you can only experience them through another person's body?
No, not like that. Only because I experienced, I wanted to demonstrate it to the people who are watching.
And how did you know that it was a thing? Like, how did you know that you could experience it that way and exhibit it, put it on display for the people that are watching?
Well, see, your whole perception right now for most human being is limited to 5 senses. Seeing,
Yes.
hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. This is how you know the world. If something has no smell, no taste, no touch, you won't know.
But there could be an infinite number of
Oh,
senses
yes.
that we're not aware of,
Yes.
that we don't possess.
So these things I've faced in many places, but there are certain places where there is a unreasonable level of concentration. So one place is this Kailash Manasarovar region in Tibet. In last 2 years, we've not been able to go because the Chinese have closed this because of this corona virus or whatever. Probably next year it'll open up. Last year we viewed Kailash and Manasarovar from 8 to 10 kilometers away. At the Nepali border, we went there, and even from a distance, what it does to people is unbelievable.
So it's just one concentrated hot spot
Yeah.
of activity.
Yes, and that too, it's like clockwork. Exactly at 2:30 in the morning, it starts. Boom, activity like that for about 1.5 hours, 1 hour 40 minutes like that. After that, it just goes down. It's almost like a busy airport. Boom, 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 things are happening. But not like crafts or anything, just bunches of lives, just up and down, things happening for about 1.5 to 2 hours max.
Do you think they're extraterrestrial? Do you think they're interdimensional? Do you think they're spirits?
They're not spirits.
No?
No. Anything that's related to the planet, we will just know immediately. It's not a…
It's
not
something that's from somewhere else.
It is definitely from somewhere else.
There were people around Shiva all the time. His friends were always deformed beings. No, they were just different. They just were different. They were different because they didn't belong to this planet anyway. They came… only he took on the human form. The stories clearly say that only sometimes he was a Sundaramurti, that means he was a very handsome, wonderful man. Otherwise, he was also a hideous being. So sometimes he took on the form of a wonderful, absolutely resplendent human form. Otherwise, sometimes he was also like that. And there are not a single story of suggesting anything about his childhood, not a single story about his old age or death or grave or parentage. It is clearly said that he has no parents. No father is understood, no mother is not understood by anybody, isn't it? Because he didn't belong here. He came from elsewhere, his friends hung around him, and he came and went, always repeatedly the stories. Just 2 days ago was Vinayak Chaturthi, did you know, all of you? Vinayaka means the Ganapati. You know Ganapati, the elephant-headed god, that was his festival 2 days ago. That was the day his head was chopped and he got an elephant head. This happened because Shiva left Parvati on the banks of Manasarovar and disappeared. For over 10 years or more maybe, he went away, which he was doing very constantly. He was here for a while and he was gone. When he was gone, Parvati just being alone, she wanted to have a child, and there is a curse that she can never have a child. You need to understand, Shiva never fathered any child. And the stories clearly say, no woman could hold his semen in her womb because he was not human. So Parvati could never have a child, she knew that. So she took sandal paste, made the form of a little child and breathed life into it through the tantric process. This child became alive and she fed and brought up this child. This boy became 10 years of age, 10, 11 or 12 years of age, around that kind, a young boy. And he was guarding Parvati. Parvati was having bath. She said, don't let anybody decide, whoever comes, stop them. Shiva was gone for 10, 12 years and he came back. When the boy tried to stop him, he got angry and chopped his head off. That means he was away for 10, 12 years' time. Every time he went away, all these other people who were with him, who were distorted or different people, they were all gone. When he came back, they all came. And there's another story how Kartikeya was born. Kartikeya means Subramanya or Muruga was born. Once again it is said, because Shiva was made in such a way that he could not impregnate or have his child, and people had the desire to see that someone like this becomes alive, he dropped his semen into the sacrificial fire, into a homa. And from that it was taken, and 6 apsaras means women who are not human, who come from elsewhere, took this and they couldn't hold it, and 3-month-old babies they delivered. And these 3-month-old fetuses were kept in lotus leaves and nurtured, and then Parvati merged all the 6 and made them into one. This is how the story goes. All these things suggest that he came from elsewhere, did what he wanted to do and went back, and periodically he went and came at different times. This could have happened over many thousand years, still coming and going, still coming and going. In the Shiva Sutra, one of the shlokas says, refers to Shiva as Yaksha Swarupa. Yaksha means an alien being. This culture is full of such stories, how these beings visited this planet. They are referring to Shiva as a yaksha, that means he came from outside. This is the first reference I saw, a direct reference where it says Shiva is an yaksha swarupa, he is not human. So, when we went to Manasarovar this time, the moment I went there, I felt such a tug. It was like literally these beings were just after my ring finger. They were just going at my ring finger with so much force and so much doggedly going at it. And as far as I know, because I know this life, the way we know it, is constructed in such a way that there's enormous significance to the ring finger. I don't believe that other lives could be made the same way. The whole system of yoga understood the significance of how to master the ring finger. This is like your master key to the cosmos. If you want to open up the whole cosmic process, you can open it up with this ring finger. They were going for this, that means either they know about it, or they sensed it, or it is from them that we know all this, whichever way it is. But they were not ignorant of it. They know our ways, or they taught us these ways, or they made us this way. We don't know how much role they have played in our making, but definitely the impact of what he did and the whole science of yoga that he propounded didn't come from here. There was a deeper understanding elsewhere and it was just brought to us. He came at a certain time as a youth and he left as a youth. He was not born here, nor did he die here.
As subterranean spaces, a diameter of 2 to 3 kilometers.
Life from somewhere has chosen this almost like an airport.
From feet up to navel, it's a fully developed male form, but on top of it, it's all translucent.
His problem was he could enter the solar system only at certain times.
They want me minus my body. It would be nice one day to step in and see what the hell.